Success, the word that makes hearts race, that fills bookstores and podcasts, that has become the modern man's religion. Yet, in this endless pursuit, only a rare few ever seem to truly find it. Why? Because 99% of people ignore the simplest, most profound truth about success, that it is not something you chase, but something you become. The vast majority wander through life believing success is hidden in opportunity, luck, or privilege. But the truth, the quiet, powerful truth, is that success is a byproduct of the person you make of yourself. Most people live as if they're passengers on a train they didn't choose, waiting for the right stop to appear. They wait for motivation, for the right time, for someone to tell them, "No, you can start." Yet the man or woman who truly understands success knows that the waiting game is the illusion. Success begins the moment you take responsibility for where you are and where you're going. Every thought you think, every habit you form, every small choice in the quiet hours of your day, that is where the road to success is paved. But here lies the tragedy. People think success is complicated. They imagine it demands secrets, systems, and shortcuts. They want the map, but not the discipline to walk it. And so they fill their minds with distractions, their schedules with business, and their souls with noise. They do everything but the one thing that guarantees success, to become the kind of person success is naturally attracted to. It is not the doing that matters most. It is the being. Let me tell you something extraordinary. A man who decides, truly decides, what he wants, and commits every day to moving toward it, will soon stand among the top 1%. Not because he's more talented, but because he's more intentional. The world moves aside for the person who knows where he's going. The rest drift aimlessly, hoping to stumble upon meaning as if life were a lottery. But success is never an accident. It's designed, sculpted, and earned through clarity of purpose and the daily discipline to live by it. Most people wake up every morning believing that today will somehow be different, that life will suddenly unfold in their favor, that opportunity will knock, that success will appear as if by magic. They look to the sky, to their phones, to their circumstances, searching for a sign that tells them they're on the right track. Yet, day after day, nothing seems to change. Not because success has abandoned them, but because they've abandoned the very truth that could change everything. The truth that success isn't something you wait for. It's something you prepare for. It is not a stroke of fortune. It is the inevitable result of how you think, how you act, and how you see yourself. From childhood, most of us are conditioned to believe that success is a mysterious treasure, guarded by chance or talent. We're told that some people are born for greatness, while others must settle for mediocrity. But that is the greatest lie ever sold to the human mind. Success does not belong to the gifted few, it belongs to the disciplined many. It does not ask for your luck, your background, or your connections. It asks only for your clarity of purpose and your relentless decision to follow it through. Think about this: every building you see, every invention you use, every business that thrives began as nothing more than an idea, an invisible thought in the mind of a single person who decided to believe in it. That's where success truly begins, in the quiet space of thought. A man or woman becomes what they think about most of the time. Fill your mind with fear, and fear will shape your life. Fill it with doubt, and doubt will paralyze your potential. But fill it with faith, discipline, and purpose, and the world begins to bend itself toward your vision. This is not poetry, it is principle. You see, the majority of people never stop long enough to think deliberately. They react, they rush, they consume. But they do not create from within. They live by habit, not by design. They let circumstances dictate their emotions and their direction. And because of this, they live the same year 75 times and call it a life. Yet, those who break free from this pattern do something extraordinary. They think for themselves. They define success not as a destination, but as a direction. They know exactly where they're going, and every thought, every action, every choice they make is guided by that inner compass. Success is not a moment, it's a mindset. It's not a finish line, it's a way of traveling. The person who understands this truth will begin to move differently. They stop waiting for external approval, because they realize success is an inside job. They start cultivating habits that match their vision. They begin to guard their thoughts as carefully as they guard their finances, knowing that their thoughts are the currency of their future. They replace gossip with gratitude, procrastination with purpose, and excuses with execution. But here's the uncomfortable truth: very few people are willing to do this. It's easier to dream than to discipline, easier to wish than to work, easier to envy than to evolve. That's why so many stay where they are. Not because they can't rise higher, but because they refuse to take responsibility for their own thinking. The mind is the most powerful tool ever given to mankind, yet most people treat it like a toy. They fill it with noise, distraction, and negativity, and then wonder why their lives feel out of control. The simple truth is that your life cannot rise higher than your thoughts. Change your thinking, and everything else follows. Consider the farmer who plants a seed. He knows that whatever he plants, he will harvest. If he plants corn, he expects corn. If he plants weeds, he cannot expect wheat. The same is true of the mind. Every thought you plant, water, and nurture will one day grow into reality. So if you want success, you must plant the seeds of success. Thoughts of courage, persistence, and vision. The harvest doesn't come overnight, but it comes without fail. The universe rewards consistency, not impatience. Every great life begins the same way, with a decision. A decision to think differently, to act deliberately, to live intentionally. The person who makes that decision stops being a victim of circumstance and becomes a creator of circumstance. They understand that success is not about controlling everything around them. It's about mastering everything within them. They rise earlier, think deeper, speak with purpose, and move with conviction. They may not see results immediately, but they know that success is not a matter of if, only when. And as days turn into weeks, and weeks into months, a transformation begins. What once felt difficult becomes natural. What once seemed impossible becomes inevitable. The mind, once cluttered with confusion and fear, becomes a powerful instrument of focus and faith. That's when success begins to appear, not because it suddenly decided to bless you, but because you finally became the person capable of receiving it. Most people will never come to this realization. They will keep looking for secrets, shortcuts, and external validation. But those who awaken to this truth understand that success is not a mystery to be solved. It is a principle to be lived. The moment you take full control of your thoughts, your destiny begins to shift. The question is not whether success will come, but whether you will have the courage to believe that it begins and ends with you. Every single day, people wake up and hand over control of their lives to the world around them. They let the weather decide their mood, their boss decide their worth, and their fears decide their future. They wait for something, some event, some person, some miracle, to push them into action. But life doesn't wait. Opportunity doesn't knock for the man who stands idle. It moves toward the one who's already walking. The truth is, most people are not living. They're waiting. Waiting for inspiration, for luck, for the perfect moment. But the perfect moment never arrives because it is created, not found. When you begin to understand that you are responsible for everything in your life, your direction, your mindset, your results, everything changes. Responsibility is not a burden. It's the highest form of freedom. Because when you accept that you are the cause of your success or failure, you also accept that you have the power to change it. The moment you stop waiting for someone else to rescue you, the moment you stop blaming the economy, your upbringing, or your circumstances, you become unstoppable. You stop living as a passenger and start living as the driver. The average person spends their life searching for the right opportunity. They think that success comes from being in the right place at the right time. But the truth is, the right opportunity always finds the person who is prepared. You don't wait for luck. You prepare so thoroughly that when luck arrives, it recognizes you. Life is constantly testing your readiness. Every challenge, every setback, every delay is asking, are you ready for what you say you want? The successful person answers with action. The unsuccessful one answers with excuses. It's not that people don't want success. It's that they want it without responsibility. They want progress without discipline, results without persistence, rewards without risk. They hope to win the race by standing still. But nature doesn't work that way. You cannot reap where you have not sown. You cannot harvest the rewards of hard work if your days are filled with hesitation. Success demands movement, consistent, purposeful movement. Even the smallest step forward taken daily will lead you farther than the grandest intention never acted upon. Think about the ocean. To someone standing at the shore, It seems calm and unchanging, but beneath the surface, currents are constantly moving, shaping, and shifting. The same is true for your life. Even when progress isn't visible, your consistent action is creating unseen change. The problem is, most people stop too soon. They give up before the tide turns. They lose faith because they can't see the growth that's happening within them. But just like the seed beneath the soil, progress often hides before it reveals. Those who persist, who keep working in faith rather than fear, eventually witness the transformation that others gave up on. And yet, the great irony is that the hardest part of success is not the work itself. It's the decision to begin. Once you start moving, momentum becomes your greatest ally. But the mind resists beginnings. It whispers, "You're not ready. You might fail. It's too late." Those voices have silenced more dreams than any external obstacle ever could. The way to silence them is through decisive action. You don't need to be confident to begin. You become confident by beginning. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to take the next step. Life rewards the man or woman who moves forward in faith. Responsibility is the foundation of power. When you take responsibility, you no longer see yourself as a victim of circumstance, but as the creator of circumstance. You stop saying, "I can't," and start asking, "How can I?" That simple shift opens doors you never knew existed. Because success is never about resources. It's about resourcefulness. The person who refuses to make excuses finds a way. The one who clings to excuses finds a reason to fail. You can always tell the future of a person by what they take responsibility for today. Every choice you make sets a chain of events in motion. You are either moving towards success or away from it. There is no standing still. The world will reflect back to you exactly who you are on the inside. If you are careless, life will seem cruel. If you are disciplined, life will seem generous. The law of cause and effect never sleeps. It operates with perfect fairness, rewarding the man who takes control of his thinking and punishing the one who abandons it to chance. And so the question becomes, are you living deliberately, or are you drifting? Are you moving through life with intention, or are you waiting for life to move you? The truth is, you are already creating your future with every decision, every habit, every thought. The only difference between the successful and the unsuccessful is that the successful know it and act accordingly. They choose their thoughts the way a sculptor chooses his tools. They shape their days with purpose. They live each moment knowing that every small act compounds into greatness. The path to success is not hidden. It has been walked by countless men and women before you. It begins with a single choice: to take full ownership of your life. Once you do that, you no longer wait for opportunity. You become the opportunity. You no longer wish for change. You create it. You stop hoping for success and start preparing for it. Because when responsibility meets discipline, and when intention meets persistence, success is not just possible, it's inevitable. People are constantly searching for some hidden formula, some secret code that will unlock the gates of success. They chase one method after another, one book after the next, one opportunity after another, always convinced that the next thing will finally be the answer. And yet, they overlook the simplest and most powerful truth. Success is never complicated. It is only made to seem that way by those who refuse to do the simple things consistently. The real path to achievement is not buried in mystery or guarded by a select few. It lies in plain sight, waiting for anyone with the courage to practice it every single day. The problem is not that people don't know what to do. Deep down, most already do. They know they should set goals, manage their time, work diligently, think positively, and keep learning. The issue is that they look at these truths and say, "It can't be that simple." So they search for something more glamorous, more complicated, something that will promise results without demanding transformation. But simplicity has always been the master key to greatness. It is the uncomplicated truth that people find hardest to accept. Success is not built upon secret strategies but upon sound principles, discipline, consistency, and integrity. Yet these very principles are what most people avoid. They would rather chase shortcuts than build habits. They want to appear successful instead of becoming successful. They confuse activity with productivity and effort with purpose. They spend their energy trying to look busy, to appear accomplished, without realizing that true success doesn't shout, it whispers. It's found in the quiet, repeated acts that no one sees but everyone feels. You see, the modern world has convinced us that success must be fast, loud, and effortless. We are surrounded by stories of overnight millionaires, instant fame, and sudden recognition. But the truth behind those stories is rarely told. Behind every overnight success lies years of quiet struggle, unseen preparation, and private discipline. The individual who rises above the crowd has simply done what most people are unwilling to do. They've mastered the ordinary. They've learned to do small things with extraordinary consistency. Discipline is the bridge between knowing and achieving. Most people live on the wrong side of that bridge. They read, they talk, they plan, but they do not act. They keep their dreams locked in the mind instead of building them in the world. Action transforms thought into reality, yet action is what most people fear. They fear the discomfort, the uncertainty, the slow progress. But growth is born out of discomfort. Every great life has been forged in the fires of perseverance. It is not the absence of difficulty that defines success, but the courage to continue through it. If you study any person who has achieved greatness, you'll find that their success was not the result of luck or circumstance, but of steady effort guided by a clear vision. They did not allow distractions to pull them away from their mission. They did not abandon their goals when things became inconvenient. Instead, they understood that the true test of character is not how you act when things go right, but how you respond when they don't. Most people retreat at the first sign of resistance. The few who press forward despite it rise to levels the rest can only imagine. But consistency alone is not enough. It must be paired with purpose. A life without purpose is like a ship without a compass. No matter how hard you row, you'll always drift. Purpose gives direction to effort. It turns motion into momentum and work into achievement. When you know why you are doing something, the discipline becomes easier, the challenges become smaller, and the journey becomes meaningful. The man who wakes up with purpose does not need to be pushed. He pulls himself forward. He doesn't wait for motivation, he creates it through action. And then there's integrity, the quiet force that sustains all success. Integrity means doing what's right when no one is watching. It means keeping promises made to yourself even when it's inconvenient. Without integrity, success is temporary. With it, success becomes inevitable. A person of integrity doesn't have to chase opportunities. Opportunities chase them. The world may sometimes reward deceit in the short term, but over time, it always bends toward those who build their lives on truth and trustworthiness. The reason most people ignore these simple truths is because they demand self-mastery. It's easier to blame the economy, luck, or others than to look in the mirror. It's easier to seek new techniques than to strengthen old habits. But the individual who dares to master the basics, who chooses simplicity over complexity, consistency over comfort, and discipline over distraction, becomes unstoppable. Because when you do what others won't, you begin to experience what others can't. Every moment of your life is a choice between progress and procrastination, between purpose and passivity. Every small act of discipline compounds over time into extraordinary results. The tragedy is that most people never stay long enough on the path to see this truth unfold. They quit just before the reward. They stop just before the breakthrough. But those who endure discover something remarkable. That success was never as far as it seemed. It was simply hidden behind the wall of persistence. So, the truth about success is not that it's complicated. It's that it's uncomfortable. It asks you to think deeply when others are distracted, to work when others are resting, to believe when others are doubting. It asks you to build yourself, quietly, daily and relentlessly. And in doing so, it gives you what no shortcut ever can, the power to look back and know, without a doubt, that you earned every inch of your success. There comes a point in every person's life when they stand at a crossroads. One path crowded with comfort, the other lonely with purpose. Most people, when faced with this choice, take the crowded path. They follow the masses because it feels safe, familiar, and easy. They convince themselves that it's better to move with the crowd than to risk walking alone. But the truth is, success does not live on the road most traveled. It waits on the quiet path of decision, the moment when a person finally says, "I will take responsibility for my own life, and I will decide who I become." Every great transformation begins with a decision. Not a wish, not a hope, but a clear and final decision to move forward, no matter the cost. When a person decides with full conviction, the world begins to change around them. Doors that were once invisible start to appear. People who once ignored them begin to take notice, and opportunities start to align as if by unseen design. It's not magic, it's momentum. Life moves for the person who moves first. Those who hesitate are left behind by their own indecision. You see, there is immense power in a mind made up. The average person spends their life in hesitation, weighing possibilities, waiting for certainty before taking action. But certainty never comes first. It comes after commitment. You cannot expect confidence to appear before you take the leap. The act of leaping, of trusting yourself enough to move, is what creates the confidence you've been waiting for. The greatest tragedy is not failure. It's never trying at all. You can correct a wrong turn, but you can't correct standing still. Once you decide what you truly want, something inside you changes. You begin to think differently, speak differently, and act differently. Decisions give shape to identity. You no longer drift with the tide because you've chosen a direction. You start to attract people, ideas, and experiences that align with your new sense of purpose. That's not coincidence. That's the law of cause and effect. The moment you define what you want, you begin to filter out what doesn't serve it. Suddenly, time becomes precious, energy becomes sacred, and your priorities shift from mere survival to intentional growth. But here's what most people don't realize. Making a decision is only half the battle. Keeping it when things get hard, that's where real strength is built. Anyone can decide when the sun is shining. The test comes when the storm arrives, when the path grows uncertain, when doubt begins to whisper in your ear. The successful person endures those moments not because they never feel fear or fatigue, but because they remember why they started. Purpose becomes their anchor in the winds of uncertainty. Every worthwhile goal will demand something from you: time, effort, sacrifice. But what it gives in return is far greater growth, self-respect, and mastery. You can't become stronger without resistance. You can't develop character without challenge. Life will always test the seriousness of your decision. It will place obstacles in your way, not to break you, but to reveal whether you truly mean what you say. And when you face those challenges with courage instead of complaint, you rise above the crowd that quit too soon. Too many people think they're waiting for a sign from life, but life is waiting for a sign from them. It's waiting for a decision, a commitment, a signal that says, "I'm ready." Until you make that signal clear, life remains silent. It doesn't reward the hesitant, because hesitation is a form of doubt. The world rewards decisiveness, the ability to choose a path and give it everything you have. You don't have to know every step. You just need to take the first one in faith. Each step taken in purpose reveals the next. And once you begin, something extraordinary happens: momentum. Momentum is the invisible force that turns small daily actions into unstoppable progress. At first, movement feels difficult. You're pushing against inertia, against old habits, against fear. But as you persist, every action strengthens the next. What once required discipline begins to flow naturally. The mind adapts, the body adjusts, and the spirit begins to believe. Momentum transforms effort into energy and struggle into satisfaction. Those who persist long enough to reach that point experience what most never will: the joy of self-mastery. There's a quiet confidence that comes from knowing you're building something real, something lasting. It doesn't scream or demand recognition. It simply radiates. People will look at you and call you lucky, not realizing that what they call luck was built from years of consistency and courage. They will see the glory but never the grind. But you'll know the truth, that your success was not a product of chance but of choice. The crowd will always try to pull you back. They'll say you're working too hard, dreaming too big, moving too fast. They'll offer comfort disguised as advice, but comfort is the enemy of growth. The moment you choose comfort over challenge, you trade your potential for mediocrity. The great paradox is that while the path of discipline may seem harder in the beginning, it leads to a life of freedom. And while the path of ease feels pleasant at first, it leads to a life of quiet regret. So when you decide who you want to become, protect that decision fiercely. Nurture it. Guard it against doubt, distraction, and discouragement. Because once you decide, truly decide, nothing can stop you. The world begins to make way for the person who knows where they're going, while it closes doors to those who drift without direction. The difference between the few who achieve greatness and the many who only dream of it is simple. The few decided and never looked back. There is a pattern that runs through every story of success, no matter the century, the country, or the circumstance. It is not found in the wealth one inherits or the education one receives. It is not born of luck or timing or social favor. It is found in the way a person thinks, in the quiet, steady belief that their thoughts have power. For most, this truth sounds too simple to be real. They want success to come from something outside of themselves. A better economy, a better job, a better chance. But the ones who truly succeed know that the greatest economy in the world is the mind, and it is there that all wealth, growth, and progress begin. Every achievement begins as a thought. Every invention, every empire, every work of art existed first in the invisible world of imagination. Before there was a light bulb, there was the thought of light. Before there was flight, there was the thought of flying. The mind creates before the hands build. Yet most people neglect this truth. They fill their minds with worry, complaint, and doubt, and then wonder why their lives reflect those very things. They live as if the mind were a trash bin, not realizing it's the soil in which every future is planted. What you allow to take root there will shape the landscape of your entire life. It's not enough to dream vaguely about success. Dreams without discipline are fantasies. The real power lies in directing your thoughts with precision, feeding your mind with purpose, and training it to serve rather than sabotage you. The human mind is the most obedient servant in existence, but it is also the most dangerous master. It will believe whatever you tell it, repeat whatever you dwell upon, and create whatever you consistently imagine. If you tell it that life is unfair, it will gather evidence to prove you right. If you tell it that you are capable and destined for more, it will start to find ways to make that true. The tragedy is that most people use this power against themselves. They think in terms of limitation. They tell themselves, "I could never do that," or "That's not for someone like me." They allow the opinions of others to define their potential. And slowly, their dreams shrink to fit the size of their fears. But the person who learns to think deliberately begins to reshape the world around them. They understand that their outer world is nothing more than a mirror reflecting their inner world. Change the reflection in your mind, and the image in your life must follow. This is not positive thinking for the sake of comfort. It is constructive thinking for the sake of creation. There's a difference between wishing and believing. Wishing is passive, it waits. Believing is active, it builds. When you believe in your vision, your actions start to align with it. You speak differently, you carry yourself differently, and you make choices that bring that belief to life. Every day, through repetition, the belief becomes stronger until it becomes your identity. And when success becomes part of your identity, no setback can destroy it. Those who achieve lasting success understand that thoughts are not just ideas. They are instructions to the subconscious mind. The subconscious doesn't judge, it obeys. It doesn't ask whether something is possible. It simply carries out what the conscious mind impresses upon it. So if you continually focus on fear, your mind begins to create more of it. But if you focus on growth, confidence, and opportunity, your subconscious begins to open doors you didn't even know existed. It will attract people, resources, and circumstances that match your inner conviction. That is why guarding your thoughts is not a suggestion. It is a requirement. The mind must be trained just as the body must be exercised. Feed it daily with ideas that elevate, books that challenge, and people who inspire. Refuse to dwell on gossip, negativity, or defeat. The world will try to fill your mind with noise, but your power lies in choosing what you allow inside. Remember, you cannot plant weeds and expect flowers to grow. If you want a life of abundance, fill your mind with thoughts of abundance. If you want success, feed your mind on success until it becomes the only language it knows. And then comes faith, not blind faith, but the kind built on understanding. Faith that your thoughts, when backed by action, cannot fail to produce results. Faith that you are not a victim of fate, but a creator of it. Faith that you already possess within you everything needed to rise above your circumstances. This faith does not come from hope, it comes from practice. The more you exercise it, the stronger it becomes. Every small victory reinforces it, every challenge refines it, and every setback tests it. But once faith becomes a habit, doubt loses its hold. The greatest minds, the greatest leaders, The greatest innovators all share this one trait. They have mastered their inner conversation. They talk to themselves with conviction, not confusion. They program their minds for success every day, and as a result, success becomes inevitable. You will never rise higher than the level of your thoughts. If you want to change your life, start by changing the way you think about it. Your mind is your workshop. Every tool you need is already there. Imagination, focus, persistence, and belief. What you build with those tools is entirely up to you. But remember this, the same mind that can create a life of joy can just as easily create a life of struggle. The difference lies in your direction. You are the architect of your future, and your thoughts are the blueprints. Build wisely, think deliberately, and the world will shape itself to the image of your design. There comes a moment when a person must face the simplest yet hardest truth of all. Success will never come to the one who only wants it. It comes to the one who expects it, the one who prepares for it, and the one who lives in a way that proves they are ready to receive it. Most people spend their lives wishing for a better future while continuing to think, act, and live in the same way that has kept them exactly where they are. They hope for change without becoming the kind of person capable of sustaining it. And so, success passes them by, not because it was never meant for them, but because they never grew into its equal. The truth about success is that it does not chase people. It chooses them. It chooses those who are prepared, those who are consistent, and those who take the invisible world of thought and turn it into visible results. Success is not a reward for the lucky. It is a response to the disciplined. The world does not hand greatness to anyone. It reveals it through challenge, persistence, and faith. To expect success means to live in alignment with it, to act as if it were already yours. You don't wait for circumstances to prove your worth. You move with conviction as though your destiny has already been decided. Because in a way it has. The moment you decide what you will become, you begin to set that future in motion. But expectation is not arrogance. It is preparation. It's the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you've earned your progress. It's the peace that grows from persistence. When you expect success, you train your mind to reject defeat. You stop being surprised by progress because you've made progress inevitable through your choices. The man or woman who expects success walks differently. Their posture, their speech, their energy, it all reflects a sense of purpose. They are not waiting for permission to move forward. They are already on the path. And people can feel it. Opportunities begin to appear because people trust those who clearly trust themselves. Every great achiever has learned that the world mirrors your inner belief. Life is not giving you what you ask for. It is giving you what you expect. If you expect failure, you will unconsciously act in ways that fulfill that expectation. You'll hesitate, second-guess, and sabotage your own progress. But if you expect victory, your behavior begins to align with that belief. You'll take bolder steps, think more creatively, and recover faster from setbacks. Expectation creates energy, and energy attracts opportunity. It is not mystical, it is psychological. The mind moves toward whatever it believes to be true. The difference between the dreamer and the achiever lies not in desire, but in preparation. The dreamer hopes. The achiever builds. The dreamer imagines the result. The achiever builds the habits that create it. You cannot expect a harvest without planting the seed. You cannot expect mastery without practice. Success is not a surprise party. It sends invitations in the form of small daily disciplines, and the ones who answer those invitations, the ones who show up day after day, when no one else is watching, are the ones who eventually stand in the spotlight that others call luck. Many people say they believe in success, but their actions betray their disbelief. They talk about what they want, but they spend their time on distractions. They say they're serious, but they let small challenges stop them. You can tell a person's future by how they handle their present. If they treat today casually, they will face tomorrow desperately. But the individual who treats each day as an opportunity to grow, to learn, and to build, that person sets in motion a destiny that few will ever understand. They don't need motivation because they live with direction. They don't chase opportunity because they have become the kind of person opportunity seeks. Expectation must be matched by effort. You cannot think yourself into success. You must act yourself into it. Thought provides the vision, action gives it shape. Every time you act with intention, you reinforce your expectation. Every time you follow through on a commitment, you train your mind to believe in your own power. The greatest form of self-belief is keeping promises to yourself. Each small act of integrity strengthens the foundation upon which your success stands. And yet the world will test you. It will place obstacles in your way to see if your expectation is real or fragile. Challenges are not there to stop you. They are there to reveal you. The difference between those who succeed and those who don't is that the successful see difficulty as a sign that they are moving in the right direction. They understand that growth and comfort never coexist. Every obstacle you face is an invitation to evolve. Every hardship, when met with persistence, becomes proof that you are ready for more. When you begin to expect success, you start to carry yourself as someone who already owns their future. You don't talk about what might happen. You speak from the quiet certainty that it will. You start to attract people who match your vibration. Individuals of vision, drive, and belief. Your energy becomes a signal to the world that you are serious. And soon what once felt impossible begins to feel inevitable. Because it is not the size of your dream that matters. It's the strength of your belief and the consistency of your effort. Those who ignore this truth spend their lives as spectators, applauding the achievements of others, while secretly wondering why life never rewards them the same way. But success never rewards the passive observer. It honors the active participant. It waits for the one who dares to prepare, to persist, and to expect greatness even when the world doubts them. The day you stop hoping and start expecting. The day you live as if success were not just possible, but promised, is the day your life begins to transform. For success is not something that happens to you. It's something that happens through you. Once you decide to think, act, and live like the person you were always meant to become. And so, it all comes down to this. Success is not a secret, not a mystery, and not a privilege reserved for the chosen few. It is a principle, a pattern, a way of thinking and living available to anyone with the courage to claim it. The tragedy is not that people cannot succeed, but that they choose not to believe they can. They look outside themselves for what has always been waiting within. The truth is simple: we become what we think about, and our lives become the reflection of our daily choices. Every person has within them the same raw power that has built nations, written masterpieces, and shaped the course of history. But that power must be directed, guided by purpose, fueled by discipline, and strengthened through faith. Those who master their thoughts master their world. Those who take responsibility for their direction create their destiny. The difference between the 1% who rise and the 99% who remain is not luck, intelligence, or opportunity. It is awareness. Awareness that success is not something you find, but something you become. You are the sculptor, and your mind is the chisel. Each thought, each act, each decision is carving the person you will one day become. If you want a different life, start by shaping a different version of yourself. Expect success, prepare for it, and live in alignment with it. For the world does not respond to what you wish for. It responds to who you are. So, stand tall in your vision. Guard your mind as your greatest treasure. Walk with purpose, work with faith, and refuse to settle for less than the life you are capable of creating. Success will not come because you waited for it. It will come because you became it. And when it does, you'll look back and realize that it was never the world that changed. It was you.